Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, a lot of stuff going on overnight, I guess.
A whole lot
How's
going on.
everybody doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Hopefully, if you stayed up at night, we're not going to keep you too long, so you can take a nap because a lot of the action happened overnight. But what a day in the markets for sure. Think we got good audio confirmation, audio, video good. So let's get right into it. Welcome everybody to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our job as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay, been a Top Step Performance Coach for about a year and going on a year and a half soon. Um, and been trading in the markets for 11 years, trading futures for the last five or so. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Coach Jay and everybody. I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Top Step for about a year and a half as a performance coach. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades, where I started on the trading floor um, and made the transition to trading just on the computer for the last basically, well, time flies, about 20 years. Here to share some experience and wisdom and help traders get over the hump or maybe enhance some trading and also learn myself. I actually learn in this community. I get different points of view.
Same here.
And enjoy being here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Coach Paul. The way we start every session, going over the news for the day, talking about the biggest percentage movers on the day. We did have some news come out prior to the market open. We had US GDP number come out a little bit better than expected. Jobless claims a little bit better than expected as well. 218,000. Forecast was 223,000. Uh, we had a durable goods number out. We had a ton of Fed speakers today. We had Powell speaking with the recorded remarks. We had 7-year bill auctions. We had a ton out, a ton out. Also, Coach, you mentioned overnight, which was probably the biggest news of the day. We had China, and I have the headline here from BBC. China unveils raft of measures to boost economy. China's central bank has unveiled a major package of measures aimed at reviving the country's flagging economy. People's Bank of China announced plans to lower borrowing costs and allow banks to increase their lending. Move comes after a series of disappointing data has increased expectations in recent months that the world's second largest economy will miss its own 5% growth target this year. Stock markets in Asia jumped after Mr. Pan of the People's Bank of China announced his news. What do you have to say
Well,
about that, Coach?
Coach, yesterday we were looking at news events for today.
Mhm.
I don't remember anyone talking about China easing.
Neither do I.
How do you handle that, Coach?
You plan the trades prior to the news. We focus on the technical patterns. I think we're both technical traders, and you go from there. I think we both agree that news often expedites the move, where I don't want to make any assumptions, but someone might know prior to a news release happening. So for me, I'm going to look at the charts, see what the charts tell me. Fundamentals can alter those charts, but for me, my answers are going to be what the charts say.
Coach, I couldn't agree. I'm a pure technician. I was up late last night. I had a long position that I it just kept on going. And it was like the ever ready battery of rallies overnight. Um, and it was funny. I didn't hear the news till this afternoon. I if I I do that on purpose myself because I get easy. I don't want to get influenced. I want to trade the action. I'm not suggesting anyone else should have to do that, but the buyers and sellers come to the market and we get a balance or an imbalance. Imbalances move the market, and boy, did we see that last night.
Yes, yes, we did. Yes, we did. Let's go over the top percentage movers on the day as soon as I can find the screen that has that. There we go. There it is. too many layouts on Top X. I love Top X because you can have a bunch of different layouts for different things. And when you're running a show on YouTube, you need to have that quote board up. So I have uh, the top percentage movers on the day. Again, there's about 30 or so markets that we can trade at Topstep. Not a suggestion to trade them all, but if you are not seeing opportunity in the market that you trade all the time, there are some other places. To the downside, we have RBOB gasoline futures down 2.55%, soybean oil down 3.1%, and crude oil down 3.19% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we have platinum up 2.37%, copper up 3.53%, and the Nikkei up 3.62% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. Probably a move that was expedited by that news in China for the Nikkei. For our top four markets that we traded at Topstep, we got the Nasdaq up 0.76%, the S&Ps up 0.44%, gold up 0.35, and we already talked about crude down 3.19%. Uh,
Wow.
let's get into these charts, Coach. Where do we want to start? ES, Nasdaq.
Let's go with Nasdaq.
Let's go with the Nasdaq. All right. Um, what a move! If you were on slow markets with Coach Dakota and I last night, you know that we were talking about this exact rally that we got. Coach Paul and I talked about it yesterday as well, where we are above that. Fix this. We are above that 20 moving average. Sorry, 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart. Um, And coach, I don't know what else to say, but as soon as we opened, the market said, let's continue the rally, right? Here's that
Well,
Globex 30-minute opening range from Globex session, anchored VWAP attached to it. It just went.
unexpectedly, that one thing, there was no prediction here, and prediction is, I'll save that. But being in the present managing risk, understanding, uh, with VWAP, when you're under VWAP and you're short, you're going against the volume. I don't like to go against the volume. The volume is usually right more than I am. But with that, it was there was no expectation of that happening. But once you're in, it's managing the trade. I saw a couple people asking questions last night. Um, if I saw it after three candles, after that, I never got a chance to enter.
Yep. Joe is talking about the 3-minute opening range break on the New York session open, and we will get to that. But and asking, how do you get back into that trade? But let's stay here, coach. We
Okay,
left.
I thought it was that. This
He
is the
was
one last night.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is the one last night. There were two really good examples of it. This is the one last night. We left the range. I was looking to get in on a little bit of a pullback to around 2275, just right where this VWAP is, and it never really gave me an opportunity. Coach Paul and I were talking about how our trading days went before we got on here, and a little bit of frustration not getting your entry here, and seeing the market do exactly what you expected to do. But that's trading, and you can decide how Coach Coach Paul said. What did you tell me, Coach, when I told you I didn't get my
is your
entry?
market button broken?
Does the market order not work? Is
Uh,
what
uh,
Coach Paul said. And in this case, yes, just get in. Where the stop was way out of the way. I was looking to get into this trade, trading micros, and adding another 12 points of risk for this trade. Where realistically, I was looking for a 200-point move. What's another 12 points between friends? Uh,
well, to be all honest, it was a tough move to get. If you weren't in early, it was very intimidating because I didn't expect that. I got
right.
in actually just on the show. It closed above the 200 bar moving average
Mhm.
on the half hour bar. I have to be. I have to for my swing trade. I have to get in. I also bought one for a day trade. I put in my original stop, two average, true range. I'm, but I did not expect this. I so bringing that in is managing a trade. One of the things, if it's late and you still want to get in, you can change your size. So if you are a one lot mini trader, maybe you go down to 5 micros and frame out the risk that way. Or maybe you go down to, definitely go down to a smaller position. And if
Hmm.
you still can't afford it, or you don't want to take the risk and you're not comfortable, don't take the trade. But yeah, that was a that was a classic runner last night.
Yes, it
Um,
was
and
kind of
it one of the things, it held the pivot right off the bat, in both the Nasdaq and the S&P. And the Nasdaq, I had a pivot of 2175. That
2175. Okay,
and
right
then
there.
the 3 minute, oh, see, that happened, that we had a 200 bar moving average on the half hour. But yeah, and then I saw Coach Jay's 3 minute opening,
Yep.
and I moved my stop underneath that with two ATRs from the 3 minute. And I went to coach basketball practice and came back, and I couldn't believe my eyes.
Very nice.
And
Very
then
nice
my
trade
problem was,
there.
where do I get out? Um,
20,500 was a decent area to look. But really, really nice trade there, coach.
well, I did, like I said, I didn't know it, and I'm not bragging, because you need to eat big trades to make
Mhm.
up for the small losses I take.
100%.
Um, I once had a in the trading pit, an older member when I was younger. Was watching me trade, and at the end of the day, he was an old friend. He looks at me, kid. He goes, you can do well, and you give some up, but sooner or later, you're going to have to learn to eat like an elephant and shit like a bird. I was like, I'm like,
Right.
oh, is that okay? But last night was a time to eat like an elephant. The hardest part was keeping that trade. Um,
Yeah.
I did hit the third level of resistance at 2,500. Actually, 2,497. At that point, I got out, and I just had no reason to get back in until the half hour went back down to the 200 bar moving average, and I got back in. But
Nice.
last night, the one key to last night, if you're the part that I think, coach, this is why the biggest thing I learned from working with you is measuring volume. The volume with VWAP never gave a reason to sell this short for me. Because like I said, I won't go against VWAP. That's the tsunami.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you, coach. There's no real reason to short this. And Dakota and I talked about it last night. We are just like, hey, anyone's gonna do whatever they can want to with their trades. If you find a short opportunity in here, who am I to tell you not to take it, right? But in this session where it looks like the market's going to trend, we've seen this happen so many times, right? Where we frame out that, first 30 minutes of the market reopen. And if VWAP leaves that early, I think I said it yesterday. These are trades that you can leave on for MOCs. The difference is what happens, and I spoke with Coach Hoop about this as well. What happens when New York comes in, and what does that New York volume say? Because if we look at the volume pattern, right, for the whole overnight session, we moved up. What were we up? 1.5% by the time New York came in. If New York is already positioned long, then we just see this rally continue. But if they're not, Hogue says it all the time. A lot of times we see these moves get retraced. As soon as that volume came in off the open, they said, nope, we're good with trading these prices. Now, everyone who's long overnight is going to sell as well. You got to take profits, right? We got to imagine that there are some shorter time frame traders in this, some day traders, some, intraday swing traders that when we hit that 20,500 level, are going to start taking profits if the market doesn't continue to push. Uh,
Yeah, great. Yeah. Now, overnight inventory, a gap like that,
yep,
um, it's going to be challenged. The probability is very large. It's going to be challenged. Um, so it, this was a rare day. It was great trading on both sides.
agreed.
It's just like it was like a dream. Put them back on. We could do this every day. We'd all be kings, but it doesn't. Um, so yeah, let's with the Nasdaq. So we had that big rally last night.
Mhm.
Um,
I
so go ahead.
so this daily candle to the downside. This was July 17th daily candle. Uh, just framing out the high, the low of it, and where 50% is. You can see where the rejection at the high of the day was. Just another example of the market just loving to do this on whatever time frame that you trade, and that just happened to be right before the New York session opened. The news that we had uh, didn't have much of an effect, right? We had jobless claims out, the market barely moved. I think we may have been waiting for Fed speakers or whatever it was. But here's that huge rally, coach. We have the New York session open, and it's almost the exact opposite trade.
What is that shift to I? What is that to get to
Alt
revert
I to invert your
all
charts.
time?
Yeah.
There you go. There it is.
Yep.
um, so let's go that we come in, we see all that news, and it was pretty bullish news from what I gather.
Mm. Yeah, it seemed like pretty bullish news. Jobless claims numbers came out pretty good, better than expected. And I think a lot of the focus recently has been on the labor market. So the news looked better, but maybe sell the news here where uh we traded above that 20,500. We're not seeing volume increase. We did make it above 20,500 before the real volume came in for the session. So in order for us to stay up here, we're going to need to see some convinced buyers, and they weren't there. Again, we traded into 50% of that sell side imbalance from July, and I'm calling that a sell side imbalance on a daily candle. There was a lot of negative delta in that candle. So we just sell. The first trade that I took today was this short, and Joe, this is the one that you were talking about. 3 minute opening range, VWAP leaving the range very early, right? We get to see the market like this, and that angle of VWAP tells me that hey, sellers are in control pretty early. Watching the time and sales as well, and also aware that we just traded above 20,500 and now we're below it. What does every trader who is long overnight start to think when we can't hold above that 20,500? I need to sell, and that's what happened. Uh, just a really nice trend day down. We bounced off of the low of that
That's
candle. Go ahead, coach.
that literally was the complete opposite of the
Complete
up
opposite
move.
trade.
Now, and I have to throw this out there. That's why news. If you get caught in news, I'll say it's one off.
Hmm.
What I mean by that, the market has to trade. And markets are either in balance or they are at balance or in an imbalance. By using market movement and volume, the news has to be traded out, right? It has to come to market, and the markets will digest it, and then we'll get some more pertinent information rather than news. Because if you go like CNBC or Bloomberg News, they're busy digesting the news, while traders have to digest the the trades. It has to be traded out, and it could create a balance or an imbalance. Markets move from balance to imbalance. For me, I love imbalances. If I can identify them, we had two opportunities last night or in the last 24 hours. So I'm not saying don't know the news, but don't make your I find it very hard to make a decision on the news.
Same.
Was it here? Andy Owing said I got smoked. Super bullish news, right?
Hmm.
And I know that feeling. I went to school. I was an economist, and I traded on what should happen, could happen, might happen. No risk management. I, the market's wrong. They just don't know it yet. I'm right. Um,
Been there before.
I, I probably
Market's always
made
right.
every one of those mistakes. So that's why I'm a technician. Um, and this was a like almost a poster child of great technical trading today.
I would agree. So we got a couple questions in the chat. One from Eric. Do you exactly measure risk reward before taking a trade, or is it something you eyeball and modify as price moves in real time?
Very good question. I myself measure it before I go in and then I eyeball it.
Mm,
Um, I one thing is we just talked about eating like an elephant. Um, that's my goal is to get there. It doesn't always get there. But there might be some movement. We get under VWAP. I have a winner on, or and I instead of getting to a 3-to-1, I get out at a 2-to-1, but not when I get in. So it's a great question. I um I get in. I know what I put it this way. I pay for it when I get in.
makes sense. Makes sense. You're not seeing it as a loss. You're seeing it as a cost of doing business, and I'm paying for the trade idea. I've heard Coach Ray mention it that way as well, and it's a just a different way to frame your mind around losses. It's not a loss. You're paying for information, and whether or not that information is right or wrong. It's yeah, really good way
That's
to
why
look
we
at it.
call it risk management. There's
Correct.
no trades. There's no free trades.
Yep. None at all. So Joe asked also, where can I get in if I missed the initial move? So I personally would look for any pullbacks to VWAP, right? So like I said, my first short was at 20,461. Where looking at this candle pattern here, I said, no, we're going short. Um, I had a target of 365 because that was the midnight open. Midnight opening range was at 20,365. When I say midnight, I'm talking about New York session, or New York time since I'm in New York. But any kind of pullbacks to VWAP here are your opportunities to potentially get into the short. Again, we talked about it. You don't want to short in the hole, so don't look at this move and say, "Ah, you know what? It missed me. I want to jump in." If you're trading micros, maybe you can afford that, but this is a 40-point move in the opposite direction before the market goes in your favor. If you're getting short here, right? So if you've missed the move, take a deep breath. Know that the market, if it's that good of a trade, may present another opportunity for you to get into it. But just blind jumping in could have you selling the lows on a reversal before the market eventually goes in your favor. So look for some of these reversions to VWAP, is what I would do, and then try to get in short from there. What would you say to that, coach? If the move looks like it left you already, or do we just mark it in?
You know what? In all sincerity, you mentioned good. How much can you afford?
Right.
Um, I used to love my '68 Impala. I learned how to drive it. Right? I wanted to keep it forever, and the price I think I I sold it for like $300 in the '80s. I looked at it, I was someone. It's 25,000 now.
Mm.
At one point you can get back in, but I can't. I'm not going to afford it. I'm not paying 25,000 for that car. But the bottom line is, okay, what is it that the smallest position I can take, and what would that cost for me to be wrong? For me to be wrong, I use two average true ranges.
There you go.
Ideally, on that trade, it's not going to make new highs. So that's the first thing I'll look at. So if I come down here and you said it was 40 points, it's probably 100 points to new highs.
From
Okay, well,
here,
I know.
yeah, about 113. Yep.
Well, there you go. So it's about $200 on a
Mm.
one micro. Can I afford that? Yeah. And if it gets, here's the other thing, if it gets back above VWAP, closes above VWAP, I'm out. Most likely it is. It would be very unlikely for that market to go make new highs with VWAP like that. That's the one that's consistent selling.
Right.
So
Yeah, at
All
that
right,
point, you're just wrong if it does.
and can that happen?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, it can happen, but the probability is very large that it's not because we deal with uncertainty, so we have to bring it into probabilities. So, paring down on size, and then if you don't like that, well, I myself, let's go look somewhere else. Maybe there's a good setup in another market. All
Yep,
markets are the same to me. I'm a different breed. I've been in just
I agree.
about everything. Um,
They're all the
the
same.
one key thing, and I think it's a really good this is a really good question. I can't afford that. Okay, I can either walk away. This is the problem. Well, it's still going to go down on. This is the classic FOMO. It's still going to go down, and I need to get short. And then we make an emotional reaction, right? But we really don't accept that risk. Then it goes back up towards VWAP. Now I'm down 150 bucks. Whatever. I'm like, oh, what is it? Because now with doubt comes in, and I didn't measure my risk, whatever it is, and you get shook out. Um,
Yep.
if you've been trading, you've probably been there.
Oh, yeah,
So,
a lot.
so
And
that's
it's
why
okay. Accept it. It's part of it.
it's part of it. And when you're comfortable with that, stop me out. Or otherwise, I'm in.
Right.
Unless to me, news is some technical reason.
I
And
would agree
maybe
with you.
it's driven by news, but I'm trading the market. I'm not trading news. Is what I used to tell farmers here in Chicago. There was a famous weatherman, and it was known throughout the world. Tom Skilling. You probably heard of him. WGN. Well, every farmer at 11 o'clock when he had his forecast, I went, oh, what's Tom saying? So we just tell him like, just like, are you trading rain or are you trading grain? Um, Now I understand the effect, but whether or not whatever he says, you have to manage your risk.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Doesn't matter what the market says. It could be bullish news. If the market doesn't agree with it and your trade is against the flow, whatever it is, manage your risk. You can be wrong. It's okay. But when we try to hold on, especially if you're trading fundamentally and you develop an opinion, and that's why I think it's a really good thing to trade a market that you have no opinion of. Coach, if I looked at a soybean oil chart and it said there was a great technical pattern, I can trade it. I don't know what soybean oil, I don't know what the color of it is. I don't know what it smells like. I don't know where it's even meant. Like, I don't know anything.
You
I
eat
know
it
it.
every day too.
I know a chart's a chart, so I can trade that. So try to keep your opinions out of it, and it's harder to do in markets that are closely correlated to things that we use all the time, right? Technology, banking, hospitality, all that stuff. It's easy to develop an opinion about that. So don't let that opinion uh, kind of cloud your judgment on some of your trades.
Well,
Um,
there's a
Good.
great saying is I have as a trader, I have strong opinions loosely held. So yeah, that means I have confidence in my trade
Hmm.
and but I want it loosely held. I'll be out of here at a moment's notice by using a stop and managing my risk. And being a being have an opinion anchors you to being right.
100%. 100%. So what happened for the rest of the day? So we sold off. I have top step daily levels here. We had settlement right at 2192. And would you look at that? A bounce off of settlement, a double bottom off of settlement, right back up to VWAP. Opportunity on both sides today in the Nasdaq. The longs had to either be patient or buy it last night. We came right back down to where we this spike yesterday. Anyone remember this? This spike into the close.
Yep, that's where
That's where we revisited. That's an imbalance at the end of the day. You hear Hogue mention that a lot. The base of the late spike, I think he said it was at 20,191. There's a lot of information. It's our job to kind of put the puzzle pieces together. That's how I look at the market, right? What puzzle is this for the day? What puzzle is being presented to me, and how can I put those puzzle pieces together? And when you get it right, sometimes it pays you. And when you get it wrong, sometimes it doesn't. When you get it right, sometimes it takes money from you. All about risk management at the end of the day. But this was a really nice one. Bounce off settlement twice. There's a 120 point, 130 point move there from the bounce off a settlement. Uh, let's move over
Well,
to the ES. Go ahead, coach.
Coach, one last thing. We were talking yesterday about the coiling
Hmm.
because, and this is when you notice coiling, you don't know when it's going to come out. And we didn't know last night that we were going to be what was it 450 higher back to unchanged, finishing 300. So much for the coiling, but that's when you get a contraction in volatility and ranges, and that what is another name for that? That's balance.
Hmm.
And just going through, we don't know when that's going to happen. That's why we're technicians.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's look at the S&Ps. S&Ps did make new all-time highs today. New all-time high in the S&Ps, 5830. Very similar pattern to what the Nasdaq had. So we're not going to go too much into it. But looking at a 30-minute chart, we have the moving averages. Again, we checked that 200 moving average yesterday. Checked it again today. Back down to settlement as well. Uh, if it's not apparent yet, the 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'll say it that way. Uh, let's find the Globex open, and this is the first 30 minutes of the session open, and this is going to look very similar to the Nasdaq. The one thing that caused me a little bit of hesitation going into the Nasdaq last night was the ES being right below that 5,800, and I thought maybe not having the volume to push through such a major level in an overnight session. Sometimes that's why it's important to not think and just let the market do what it's going to do. Same idea. Left that opening range early and just ran with it.
Yeah, that was like I said, that was a great risk reward trade. And going back to the question before is and this is all preference. I don't like doing 2 to 1 and 1 to 1 trades because I don't trade often.
Mm,
So going back to that, it just went on, and um, that's a tough thing to do is to keep it. But with that said, um, even if you took a 1 to 1, 2 to 1, don't if that's your plan and that's the way you trade, don't look back at that and going, damn it,
hmm.
because that creates anxiety, it creates doubt. If that's what that's what we would talk. Know these things before you go in. So if you're a 1 to 1, 2 to 1 trader, 3 to 1, continuously do that. I get into trouble when I short arm a trade because I really need those big winners to take care of. I take a lot of small
Small
losses.
losses. It makes sense.
To me, it's just as dangerous as eating like a cat. And well, I won't go to the second part of that.
uh, all right. So that's the S&Ps. Let's see if we got any questions to get into right now. What do we got? Any advice on trading in slow markets? I am in New York, so likely need to place a trade and leave it on. How do you manage entries and exits while sleeping? My advice would be check out Coach Dakota with slow markets. If you are able to watch that session, he is the slow markets trader and created that segment because that is how he learned how to trade. Um, I learned from Coach Dakota by joining it, and that's why you see me, if you can ever join, in the chat all the time. What I would say is on a trade like this one, find a place where you want to get into the market, identify where your stop is, and what I've seen Dakota do is have a reasonable price target for where he thinks the market can go. And let's say you're trading three micros, he's going to scale out of that position as it goes in his favor. So I'm going to have a conservative price target right at this level of what looked like resistance prior. Then I'm going to have a further out price target up here, and then just live with the result. The one thing I think you need to do if you're going to be trading slow markets overnight is accept whatever that loss is going to be so you can go to sleep and not have to think about your trade while it's on. Truly accept whatever that dollar amount is before you go to sleep. What would you say on that, coach?
Exactly. Well, I would say ditto.
Yeah, there we go. Accept the loss. No point of tossing and turning over a couple of dollars at night. Just go to sleep. Um, Crude oil. Let's go to crude. 30-minute chart. Remove some of the drawings I have on here. And coach, we talked about this one yesterday too. Under that 200 moving average, which is the white line on this chart, this is a 30-minute chart. We got under it yesterday. Got a test and rejection of it, and starting to look like those trending markets do, holding that 20 moving average when they start to go. Uh,
Yeah, that's another one. Look at the first half an hour last night, because remember, crude is 24/7. Now we stayed in that first half an hour range. There it is again. Um, I'm not looking to buy crude on their 200 bar moving average in a half hour. I'm just not. I'm the only time I really want to buy is if I'm short. I was too busy. I missed that. I feel like a failure now. Coach, I will do my push-ups after this program because that was a classic trade. Um, Boom. First half an hour, we captured the range. VWAP breaks out of it, and it breaks what, about $2? Coach, you're
$2.87. $2.87 at the lows.
oh, well, it's only $2,870. But
Good
in all
math there,
sincerity, I mean, one of the things that in this segment is getting. I'm a flow trader at the bottom line, and getting in the right flow, or even better, is not getting into, like, if I wanted to buy crude, if
okay.
I didn't, and I didn't, so I didn't try to find it on sale. I just was, some of those can, if you're a crude trader and you say, okay, well, I didn't buy it today and I wanted to buy it, that's something, it's not on the equity, open trade equity, but boy, that saves you a lot over time. It's very underestimated. Like,
For sure.
being flat is a position. Now, if you wanted to buy it, coach, do you see a place to buy that?
I would have to zoom out, and the only place really, and again, this might be hindsight, but we are, from what I learned from you, we're under that 200 moving average. The 20 and the 50 are in a very steep angle. The only place I would look to start buying, I'm looking at this candle that set the low for the daily candle that set the low for the year.
Wow,
Right,
that
that's
looks.
where we started to bounce. Outside of that, no, I don't see a great place to buy that. And Dakota and I were talking about this a little bit last night as well, where we are starting this downtrend, maybe looking for a short. In hindsight, the bounce up to 70 and no volume above 70 was a great place to look, and because we know how strong of a level 70 can be. We bounced up towards it, didn't see any buyers and sold off, but no, I don't see much of a place to buy this until maybe this 66 area. Or do we just continue to make new lows? I know we have OPEC saying that they were going to increase supplies, news of a ceasefire as well. There's a lot going on that can affect these markets, but again, technical pattern says this is in a downtrend.
There you go. I don't. For Chicago baseball fans, there used to be a guy named Harry Carey,
Okay.
but Hall of Fame announcer character. Um, and he used to have a saying is, um, talk is cheap, but whiskey costs money. And that to me related to trading because news or talk, we just talk those headlines were talk of this, talk of that. But in if futures trading, margin costs money.
Right.
So that's why it's very related to poker. You can you can bluff all you want, but when it comes down to it, you're gonna have to put your ante up. Either ante up or shut up. And so all that talk in the market was down. It doesn't it it doesn't the news doesn't hold margin.
Mhm.
Okay. A longer term, you got to put money up. You have to take some risk. So getting into your trading for your beginning and your this is all mystifying and you might like you're leaning on something like the news. My sincere advice is figure out a technical pattern that can help you manage risk and do that.
Yep.
Eh,
Coach, we got a comment, not in the YouTube chat, but from D Money in Discord. So first of all, shout out to D getting moved over to a live account currently.
Great job, B.
Had a couple XFAs that are being transferred over to a live account. Currently waiting on that live account. So really great stuff. That's where we want to see traders go. But D's asking a question, a little bit of a long one, but I want to get your opinion on this. My issue is I have a problem holding my trades and employ a see money take money strategy because I don't want the trade to back against me. Though it can be somewhat successful trading like that, I'd rather take a few trades per day to reach my goal. For example, 2 days ago when we had that major sell off, I was up $4,000, then didn't cut the trade when it started turning around and held that loser into blowing an XFA. I was trying to hold the sell because everything was looking like it was going to need a several hundred point sell off day. Had I been enjoying that see money, take money, or I think employing that see money, take money strategy, I would have walked away with something for sure. I guess I'm struggling when to hold the move and when to grab and go. D, go ahead, coach. You got
Go,
anything for that?
coach. Yeah,
All right.
yeah, I do. You go first.
So, first of all, whatever you've done to get you to the point that you're trading in a live account, most traders at Topstep have not done that. So, first of all, great job. I would say don't try to change too much if what you're doing is already working. Right? I could understand wanting to capture much more of the move. The way I look at that is first you have to have an idea of where you think the market can potentially go. Uh, but then you also have to do an assessment of how good of a job the market is doing at that thing, right? So I know exactly what day you were talking about. If you watch the house account trade, they had the same thing happen there as well, right? I believe this was Wednesday. You were in this short up $4,000. You were probably thinking, hey, if this holds and gets down to my level, I can make $10,000. Not an unreasonable profit target, right? I am the first one to say set what look like unreasonable profit targets because we've seen the market have trade to them so many times. Does 20,500 seem unreasonable? Taking a long in the Nasdaq yesterday at 20,250? Maybe to some people, not to me. The market moves that way. But just because I think the market can get to a certain place doesn't mean it has to get there. So I need to assess how it's doing, in that trade. I would personally trail it if I can, and I personally I don't trade with a profit target. I just trail the market as it goes, and if it comes back and stops me out, great. Um, but that's my suggestion, right? Have a reasonable idea for where you think the market can go, and then assess how good of a job the market is doing at getting there. What would you say, Coach?
Um, it's a really good question because that is the ultimate struggle in trading.
Hmm.
It's called fear and greed.
Yep.
Fear, or the opposite is at one point you were fearless,
Hmm.
and that can be just as bad as being stuck with fear. It's because we're working this balance, right? I would say this, and because I've been there, it's like 4,000, and you don't because we don't know the future. and someone tells you they do, they're lying. You have to remain present and manage that risk, and this happens all the time. It's ever present. So one way to work around that is if you're when you were up 4,000, get out of half. And if
Mhm.
you think it's going to continue, this is the difference between greed and being balanced. If it continues, you get a free trade. It's like playing with house money.
Yep.
It get out of half, and then put your stop in unchanged, and then you don't go all the way back. Cause I'm having flashbacks. Because I've been there. I think
Yep.
especially when I was then, and it always happened when I was like fearless. Like I'm God's own drunk and a fearless man. I'm like,
Yep.
and then because now it's going to be, man, it's going to be 20,000. And, then the other part is without taking that and putting it unchanged,
Mhm.
you get deer in the headlights. Like,
What just
well,
happened?
it's not what just happened,
Yep.
and then it becomes, well, it's got to come back, and then like, it's compared to like taking a toy away from a child, right? When the middle and to go to bed, you're not fight it. So going back without too much, get next time you feel that you have that, get out of half.
Yeah.
That will give you, it's because it goes back to the number one principle. It's on the top of the hierarchy. Preserve the capital.
That's it.
You're trading your account, you're not trading the markets. So I hope that helps.
Great response, coach. I have nothing else to say from there. I'm gonna put a link to a video in the chat. Uh, don't need to watch the whole thing. It's a video from trader Mark Minervini. I would suggest watching the 16-minute to 18-minute clip for exactly what we're talking about right now, and how he manages trades. He says that there's two types. You could either set a profit target and get out, or you can trail and allow the market to give you what it's going to give you. There's pros and cons to both of those, right? The person who says, "Hey, I'm going to cap my wins here," if it gets out and the market runs another 200 points after, do you have the emotional control to say, "Hey, this is where I thought the market was going to go, and whatever happens after happens"? Or if you're the trader that trails, maybe you trail a little too tight, get tagged out, and then it goes. How do you manage your emotions from that point? So I would watch that video, the 16-minute to 18-minute mark. Definitely check that out. But really good question. It's what we all deal with.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's what we're here to help with.
Yep.
We've been through this. It's not, it's not an easy journey.
Hmm.
But remember, I like that one's a really great question because it's something we deal with all the time, fear and greed. Balance that out. Um, and then would you feel a lot better if you ended that day unchanged? Probably not feeling great, but you can't allow it to go back to that's where we get stuck. So
Right.
hope everybody gets something out of that. That is the eternal struggle with traders.
Absolutely. Um, Nothing else I got on crude oil. We are coming down near these yearly lows again, lows of the year. So just pay attention to there. The market looks like it's in a very strong downtrend, but also feels like it can turn on a dime and see a 5% move in the opposite direction. Uh, Gold. Let's go to gold. Made new all-time highs again today, 2708. We finally traded above that 27,000, coach, and it did it the way that gold makes new all-time highs. We make a new all-time high and then we sell off 30 points right away.
What's a better trade there? I, don't- I
I
still
don't
like
know.
buying the dips
Yeah.
myself, but that's me. Some people, if you can find something when it makes an alta, there's something there that says, okay, the buying stopped, I can
Hmm.
sell it. It's a great I don't hear too many people talking about it. I know it's one of the top four, but micro gold to me, I had a breakdown on my other accounts, and by the way, as a professional trader, one of the great things here at Topstep is you don't have to eat these fees.
Mm,
You don't. The fees, just exchange fees alone, cost almost $700 a month.
right.
So, do I say I'm not a professional? No, and sincere. So, what I bring
Depends
that
who's
up,
asking.
gold has been what I think the best market. It's just it trades so well now. And it can happen overnight. It can happen anytime. So if you're struggling with one market, micro gold is a great place to be.
I agree. I agree. Let's see what we got here on a 3-minute chart. We can see it. We left the opening range. Same thing. Same as the equities. Took a little bit longer to leave. London session, we started to leave that 30-minute opening range from the market open. VWAP leaving as well, where we see it here. Prices going. But you've seen this a lot as well, Coach. We made the lows kind of on the open. We had this little flush through it, but depending on where your stop is here, two ATRs could be way out of the way. On a 3-minute chart, it's not, but the way I'm looking at this trade, it's a higher time frame trade. So I'd probably be looking at an ATR on a 30-minute, and I think that would put the stop somewhere well out of the way. Uh,
Jeez, that looks just like the Nasdaq.
exactly the same. Exactly the same. We
We- and look at that, right back to that opening range.
Yep. Which to me, again, this is one of this is a really good trade setup, right? Where we have this range, the average price is now higher than the range. We come back down into it. Maybe you don't buy it right away, but on a test of that range and a bounce, there's that exhaustion candle. You bounce, close outside of it, hold it. This could have been the one trade in gold today, right? There's a ton of opportunity in this market, and it's just about identifying to me, a repeatable setup. I don't have to know where the market is going to go for the day. I could pull up a chart, see a pattern, and say, hey, I'm going to trade that pattern. Um, Anything you got on gold, Coach? I'm going to look at my notes real quick to see if there's anything I'm missing. Anything else you got on gold? I'll pull up a 30 with
Um,
the moving averages.
no, continue to buy the dips. I mean, just look for whatever that is. It's still above the 200. Um, Whatever your trading style is, buying the dips in gold has been very, very good to me. Um, Now, it isn't always going to work, but it's just, but like you just said, there was plenty of opportunity on both sides of that market.
Hmm.
Those markets don't last forever. Because
Nope.
I'm telling you,
No, they don't.
I don't, gold looks great. It could one day we could come in. What happened to gold? It's down $300. It, but for now, it's just been a great moving market. Um, and onward and upward. Like, let's look at the daily real quick.
All right. And Risen says, "How do I find the ATR so quickly?" I have the indicator right under my chart here. Um, it's kind of hidden because I don't really care what the line says. I'm just looking at the value, right? So it's probably behind my head. Is it right there? Right
Yeah,
there. There it is. This value right here. Uh, I'm just looking at that number, and when I hover over a candle, you can see it change.
yeah. It's all calculated out for you.
Yep. There's a daily. It's just running.
Wow, wow, wow. Um, yeah, don't get out in front of that train. But no, 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 seriously, I don't want to tell it to people. If you find a way to trade it successfully to the downside, you're a damn good trader. Um,
That's a fact.
I'm not that good.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough to do. Tough to do. If you are a good trader and you want to pass your combine on Topstep TV, fill out that link that I just put in the chat to pass with the pros. We saw Stanley do it the other day. Shout out to Stanley for being the first to want to jump on Topstep TV, trade in front of thousands of people, and try to pass a combine. We are looking for other traders that want to do the same thing. So fill that out. Uh, maybe you have your opportunity to get on the show. Dolby's going to read your submission. So make sure you put everything that he's asking for in that form, or he said it himself on TV. He's not going to listen to it. So if you want to get on, make sure you fill out that form and trade on Topstep TV. Outside of that, what do I have? Trustpilot, leave us a review. This is not just for us, this is for Topstep as a whole, for how we are doing with the combine, with Topstep TV and all the education we provide, and everything like that. Leave us a review on Trustpilot. Uh, Make sure it's 5 stars. I don't know if I can say that or not, but what else would it be? Uh, all right. And
And
also,
also,
go ahead, coach.
smash that like button.
Smash that
We
like
don't
button for
we
sure.
don't we don't ask a lot, but if you please smash that like button if you like it.
What we're doing here. Also, last thing here, coach, I've given in, tried my best to stay away from it. Got a message from Dolby, uh, who said, "You know what? I think it's time." So I'm on Twitter now. I have a trading Twitter
Oh,
account. It's in the chat there. If you want to follow me, please follow me. I only have 4 followers right now, and they look like all bots. So I need some actual followers there. I'll do my best at engaging with the community on Twitter. Uh, There it is, or X, whatever you want to call it. I think I'll always call it Twitter. But there's
yeah.
my link to my account. If you guys do want to follow, talk from there. I'll see what exactly I'm going to be posting on there. Most of it's going to be some random volume analysis stuff. And I'm seeing the follows come in already. So shout out to you all. Um, I got nothing else as far as markets, coach. You got anything on the scouting report you want to talk about?
Um. Oh, we didn't even talk about it today, but Bitcoin, like in the long side of Bitcoin, um, it's got some great upside potential. Had a one thing we didn't talk about. Yeah, we had a great move today.
Yep.
And technically, on the daily, it looks like it can grab some momentum, and I like trading it on the on the buy side.
There we go.
Anything anything for you?
Uh, Not really. Not really. I think the markets that we look at all the time are presenting decent enough opportunities. So I'm gonna stay there. Right. I think with uh, the two equity markets, gold, crude, and then sometimes looking at the Dow as well, I can find an opportunity. We did have a trade in the house account on the Dow, trading with Coach Robert and Deanna, which I thought was a really good trade. Actually, let me go through that real quick because we kind of talked about this ever evolving watch list and just doing a scan to see what's presenting a decent opportunity. Uh, I think I called out that we were looking for a trade in the ES, but I had called out this trade in the Dow for a specific reason. Again, this was just scanning through charts, seeing what was presenting a setup that I've seen before. And here's the Dow New York session opening range, VWAP attached to the New York session opening range, and we talked about this pretty much all week. How flat of an angle that VWAP is. By the time I'm on with Deanna and Coach Robert, we were trading up to a major level, which is 42,600. And with this flat angle of VWAP, this is telling me that this is potential highs of the range. When we don't see the market trade into 42,600, we took a short at 42,569, and the potential target for the trade was this right back to this anchor VWAP back into the range. Again, it's a setup that regardless of the market, if I see it playing out, I'll take it. Just happened, to be on with Coach Robert, who's doing this, Dow trading journey, and it presented an opportunity to take a trade, right? So another example of have a technical pattern that you're looking for, and you can apply it to any market. Doesn't matter if you traded it already.
Great trade.
Thanks, Coach. And we cut it where it made sense for the session. We were coming to the end of the hour. Um, and what we said during that segment was we need volume to push us lower in order to see the trade play out. And we're not going to get volume in that slow period. But once power hour started, we get the volume to come back in, and just thought it was a really nice trade. So I got nothing else, coach. You got anything before we go?
Um, Trade well tomorrow, manage risk, um, and keep an eye. You're managing your equity. You're not managing the market.
Absolutely. Uh, we have some news out tomorrow as well. We got PCE number. We have Canadian GDP. We have Michigan sentiment and more Fed speakers as well. So just be aware of it. Like we just said, trade the technicals first. News expedites the move. Know levels where you think the market can trade to and manage your risk in between. I will be on Fast Markets tomorrow with Coach Dakota, seeing what we can do in that house account. But we got more content for you. Top Step Discord. Coach Ray, Coach Vince are doing classes every day, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. So make sure you join those if you haven't already. Ton of information for you. And then, of course, Coach Dakota with Slow Markets at 7:30 Central. No, Deanna's not doing a London session because it is Friday. But we will talk to you all tomorrow.
Have a good evening
Have a good
or
one.
morning. All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Bye.
Bye.